Hello, I'm Gregory Mosley, martial art instructor, and this is Martial Art Universe, bringing you the finest of the martial arts from around the world. Point. On August 19, 2021, at the Museum of the Moving Image, there was an exclusive screening of the action comedy film Made in Chinatown from Vision Films. It was hosted by film producer, martial artist, and museum curator Warrington Hudlin, and moderated by Veteran Sifu Carl Albright. There were live kung fu demonstrations, cast and crew meet and greet, and a Q&A panel discussion. This video shows some of the highlights of the Q&A panel discussion with part of the main cast and crew.
I see everybody too with the mask on. It's no fun. Okay, starting from here, I'd like you to just say your name, and this way everybody can hear from the audience that doesn't know you, and with the mask on, they'll see.
I am Fat Lee, and I played Mr. Child.
Hi, I'm Vincent Pastor. I couldn't make it tonight. I'm Paul Borghese. I played Frankie Browse.
Yeah. I'm Irving Schwartz. I own a deli in Brooklyn. I'm Tony Darrow, and I played Al Capone.
I'm Mark Y.D. I played myself. Oh, Hot Link Harry, the hot dog vendor.
I'm Teresa Moriarty. I play Tina DePoco.
Hi, I'm Top Watt. It's on. Hi, I'm Top Watty. I play Master Top.
I'm Karen Tenley, and I played Mrs. Wong.
Okay, I'd like to start off with Mark. Mark, how did you get the idea to come over to a movie Made in Chinatown? Give us a little background on that.
Well, it's really kind of my story because I grew up as a kid and.
Is it on? It's not on.
It's on. I don't want to take the mask down.
Okay.
Yeah.
We hear you.
I do like this. So I grew up watching Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies on Saturdays with the bad British dubbing. And I grew up watching mob movies like Goodfellas with Tony Darrow here, and Mickey Blue Eyes, and Godfather. They were real intense for me. And at late nights, I used to watch the Charlie Chan reruns and Mr. Moto and Mr. Wong, all these bad Westerners playing Chinese characters. And I was studying martial arts at a young age, and one time I was here, I'm from Philly, here in New York, trying to get into a Chinese club that was private, and they wouldn't let me in because I wasn't Chinese. And so I walked across Canal Street into Little Italy and was eating some veal parmesan and thinking, what would happen if a Chinese guy came over and tried to join a Western group, like the mob, They wouldn't let him in either. And but what if he weaseled his way in? So I tried to make a funny story about that, and the reason he'd want to do it is because he's trying to get with a beautiful Italian girl who only dates wise guys, and he thinks that's the only way she'll like him.
Oh, that sounds great. Now, Fenton, how did it feel playing a father? You don't look that old in the movie, the son.
Well, the beard helps, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
And, just sitting there and, trying to look strangely stupid, being the kind of typical, that kind of pretentious, Chinese dad, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's fun playing, trying to find that reality behind a deeply stereotypical view of what a typical Chinese dad would be. And what's interesting is that there's a lot of realism behind there, but it's real. This is a worldview that is very different from the typical general American perspective, because it is a different a different way to see life, and that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it interesting to really portray that character.
Oh, nice. Sifu Tak.
Yeah.
Now, and like yourself, I grew up with a lot of those masters that's in the movies, and you got a chance to be in the movies with them, like Chu Chi Ling and Lo Meng. So how was it like you being in the movie with those old veterans of Kung Fu cinema?
It's almost a dream come true. You see them the whole lifetime, now you meet them and work with them in the movie. They're like a legend. And thank you for Mark, let me be part of them. He's really wonderful, and Tony too, and learn a lot from the Italian actor.
Well, I don't do Kung Fu, I do Fangu.
Yeah, we like that too. They show me one more how to speak Italian, say, hey, oh! That's all I gotta say, hey, oh, that's it. Very, very nice. The movie is very good, very funny, yes. And we have the most beautiful girl in the movie. Look how beautiful she is. It's like
that's why I hang out with Sifu all the time.
That's it. Thank you.
If anybody doesn't know, the actors, especially in the beginning, Hung Fat and what's the other one? Hai Chu. So bless you. And and those two guys are really two of the original early martial art movie stars from China. They're in literally hundreds of movies like The Five Deadly Venoms, movies with Jackie Chan, and just about anybody that you can name in the cinema, even the newer people like Jet Li, and even Bruce Lee. So these people are, they are still, I mean, they're not spring chickens, but they're out there. They're still, can do their Kung Fu. It's been very healthy for them, and it's good to see them moving in some of the movies, and keeping these Kung Fu moves going. Okay, Mr. Darrow, what was your experience working in this movie?
Say again, I'm here.
How was your experience working with this movie?
Well, first of all, I got to meet Mark Wiley, and this kid really did it all by himself. He wrote it, and we had lived a lot in it, especially me and Vinny and Paul. But that's what we do. But the story is about any kind of a kid that falls in love with a girl from another race. And that happens all the time. It happens here, it happens yesterday, it happens all the time. And how the difficulties of a kid like that trying to convince his family that he loves an Italian girl from the other side of Canal Street. And how many times that happens and lives get destroyed because of that. But we made it, and he made it humorous, and he made it cute. And I've done a lot of mob movies. I've done over 50 films, but this film we did mob and comedy, and we didn't kill one person, and the only word in the thing that I said that I remembered now was I said he's full of shit. That was the only curse word, bad word in the movie. And, shit is not that bad. So, if you saw some of my films, you'd know what I mean. But it was just great. It was different. It was a lot of fun doing. And my cousin Paul here is a director, and he played my underboss, and he did a great job too. And all the guys, Vinny Pistori, and I can't mention everyone, but all my Chinese friends that were in it. I made new friends. I made really good friends, really good friends. And I'm proud to be in the film. And thank you all, and please tell your friends about it. And if it's not such a big hit in the United States, I think in Asia and in countries that speak Chinese and understand who these great kung fu artists were, it's going to be a big hit, and I hope so.
Many people, they're not here right now, but there are a lot of people in this movie, many of them personal friends of mine, and they have done quite a bit. Now, I don't know if you remember the actor that was the gay kung fu master, right? Everybody remembers him, Manny Brown. And on Broadway, he was Spider-Man.
Yep.
And so he's really been, not only a film actor, he's been in TV shows like Blind Spot and other TV shows, but he's also, a real stage actor. So a lot of that came across, I know. So Mark, how was it like working with Manny?
Oh, Manny was terrific. He, Shin Ka recommended him, said he had worked with him and on a play they did, and then Manny sent me his reel as Spider-Man on Broadway, and I just flipped out. And he's on the stage doing all this Spider-Man stuff and flips, and then he takes off his mask, and it's Manny, And I said, can you play a gay black guy who's like a secret superhero kung fu guy? And he's like, oh yeah! And you know what? Raymond Barry, the actor who played O'Grady, the corrupt crime commissioner in the film, he watched this film and he sent me an email. He's in Los Angeles. He couldn't make it today. And he said the best part about the film for him was dead in the middle of the film, we introduced a gay black character who is the only one in the entire movie who's comfortable being himself. He's not acting out. He's not threatening people. He's not afraid to raise his voice high and then down low. And he kicks ass, and he's gay, and he's not ashamed of it. And it's like, so part of the movie is about what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be comfortable with who you are? The Chinese kid, Vinny Chow, played by Jae Kwon, who is Korean, even though we made fun of him not being Korean in the movie. He's in Budapest filming, so he couldn't be here now. But, it's about what does it mean to be out of touch in society. He's a second-generation Chinese kid in New York, so he's really American. He's really a New Yorker, so why can't he date an Italian or a black girl or join an Italian club or play tennis, But you find out that we're a free country only so much, and we're understanding to a certain degree. And so I think it's a good message.
Like this kid here that played that little bitch in the movie. You really I disliked her in the film because she was so good and she's such a nasty bastard in the film. And she just, everything she does is like a real Teresa from Brooklyn who, I hate everybody and fuck all of you. And she did a great job, and I wanted to say that. You were terrific.
Thank you.
Excellent job.
I just want to say with Teresa, we had auditions, and Tony was at the audition we did, and so was Jeff Parami, who passed away, and Jeff played the deli man in the movie. And he's a stand-up comedian. His name is the Fat Rat Bastard, so we dropped his name in. What's that Fat Rat Bastard going to do, sit on him? Well, he passed away last year. But he and Tony were there at the audition when Teresa came in, and there was like 9 or 10 girls in front of her reading for reading for Tina. And we were like, oh yeah, she's good. Next one, yeah, she's good. She's the one, she's better. Next one, and I look back at Tony, he's like shaking his head no. Teresa came in and read, blew us all away. She walked on, he looked at me and pointed, and I knew it. That was it. So you owe your career to Tony.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, say a few more words, Teresa, about working in the movie and your part.
Oh, sure, yeah. So I, of course, play the, to quote Toad, the bitch. And it was such a great time to play Tina. We had such a good time in Philly with everybody, and I'm Italian-American as well. So playing with all of the tropes and when Vinny gets beat with the bread and they're trading in condiments and olive oil is just so slapstick and so over the top. And to echo what Tony said, you don't usually see the mob genre mixed with comedy. And I'm a comedian as well as an actress, so it was just so much fun. The audition was really fun, and just from day one we really had a good time together. And I think that Tina has her reasons for the way she acts, but ultimately, Tina's struggling with her identity as well, and she's dying to be somebody, and she's dying to gain a bit of status, and she's sort of faking it till she makes it the whole way through. And I think there's that nice little moment at the end where she, starts to understand that Vinny has to be who he needs to be, and she can go find who she is.
Brought you back down to where you're supposed to be because you thought you were hot shit.
Well, I mean, she's not hot shit, am I right? I don't,
Forget about it. So Paul, say a few words about the movie, about your your experiences in working in the movie.
Can you be more specific?
Well,
I'm only kidding.
Yeah.
I've done this many times.
Whatever you feel, whatever the flow feels.
I'm trying to make it light. But as far as I must have missed something because the black character that does all the kung fu, I didn't realize he was gay. What made him blatantly gay that everyone thinks he was gay?
Time. He's like hitting on Vinny.
I'm only kidding again.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
You can't tell what
should have never handed me the mic. Yeah, I think at the mask you can't see my face.
Yeah.
No, what I thought, getting back to him, I just learned all this new stuff about having played Spider-Man on Broadway and all this. I thought he was so good. It was one of my favorite parts of the movie. I thought it was so funny. It was such a surprise. And when he, when they're in the restaurant and then he winds up coming to their rescue and beating all the rest of the guys up, I thought that was great. So every time I've seen the movie, which I've seen it probably at least 6 times now, that my cousin. But it was a fun experience working on the film. I haven't spent a lot of time in Philadelphia. We did a bunch of shooting in Philadelphia, which was a cultural experience in itself, and the whole Chinatown experience, being Italian, if you can tell from my voice with the mask on, being Italian and knowing much more about Little Italy than Chinatown, and it was, not to get too deep with the movie, because basically, all in all, it's fun, right? It's a fun movie. I mean, we can't take anything about it too seriously. It's fun. You laugh. It has its great moments. And what I find interesting about it was, things are a lot different right now. I'm not getting political, but right now than they were when we shot the film. So we weren't thinking about a lot of the things that you might think of right now if you were making a film. But somehow you walked an interesting line, Mark, in hindsight, that as much as you did, there were stereotypes in a humorous way. We didn't cross any lines. I don't think anyone would be offended by watching this movie. I think somehow you were able to capture the humorous side of it from a time when we all used to be able to laugh with each other, at each other, if you know what I mean, which unfortunately right now we're not doing. So I think it's interesting timing for the film, and I hopefully people will like it and embrace it and have the same kind of fun with it like we did tonight and working on it. Thank you again, Mark, for having me on the film. I appreciate it.
Thanks for doing it.
Okay, I'd like to take a few questions from the audience. If you do have, raise your hand. If you have any questions for our celebrities here.
That black guy.
How can you tell? Get the mask on.
It's dark. How can you tell he's black?
I don't know the names for the movie. I mean, for all the monsters. I love the characters and the monsters. I love them.
Thank you. I was writing up all the names, and I had some
Cheap jokes in here.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to, they're not dealing in drugs and prostitution and gambling. It's oil and spices and herbs, so the names have to be done. So it's usually an Irish crime commissioner, in these kind of police detective, whatever, cop movies. And he's on the take, so he's O'Grady. He's playing all the sides. And Al Capella, because you never want to sing when you're in the mob, right? So he's got to be a cappella, like he's singing. And Condimento, because he's in the condiments business. And Hung Fat, well,
And he thought about that all by himself, seriously.
Yeah.
The way he wrote this thing is amazing if you think about it. And all those little subtle things in there. Like I said, we ad-libbed a lot, but he wrote a lot of that shit, and it really worked. It was really good.
There was in the original cut we filmed, this is like the 20th edit. In the original one, when we showed in 2019 at a festival in Newark, there was a line of voiceover that was taken out of the first scene. But it was in there then, and it said, "This is Hung Fat," you know, and he's the head of the Chinese. And then the voiceover said, maybe the stereotype isn't right. Meaning that Chinese guys don't have, you know, small penises, so to speak. But you know, I thought we better take that one.
Oh, can I say, when the head of the, what's his name?
Hung Fat?
Hung Fat.
Or Hai Chu, God bless.
He says, interpret for Dracula.
Oh yeah, that was Tony.
I wrote it.
That was Tony. Because what he said is translate for the Guaylo, for the white guy. And we were trying to find, Tony was sitting in my living room at my house and we were watching the film and we're like, well, that's, you know, we need to punch a line in there. And Tony looks at it and he goes, the guy looks like Dracula. So we could translate for Dracula.
I got a laugh, which was great.
We kept it in, yeah. I want to say Karen Lee is here. She played Mrs. Wong, the mother. And there was a great extra big scenes with her and that whole side of the family. Greg Lee was her husband. But unfortunately, because of time constraints and some shenanigans on set, that scene didn't come out good. But I'm so grateful that Karen still comes out to support the film. And, you know, she's done a lot of television work and movie work and, you know, SVU.
What do you think about the film? What do you... Because you're very astute about that, and I'd like to hear your take on it.
Oh, you know, I just love that it's like a screwball kind of comedy, not to be taken seriously. It's tongue-in-cheek. It's like pulling everything out of the box for comedy, and I love it. I love it. I love the fact that you went that way, because it's the humor that tickles you, you know, and if you are a New Yorker, you even get more of the humor out of it because of the references about New York and just sort of the life of New York. So it's a really great homage to martial arts and New York City, growing up in Chinatown and Little Italy. So, and you know, I'm kind of that generation where I know these things, and maybe these young people might not know these. So, you know, there's a little legacy that's being passed on here. And that's what I think is kind of really cool. And just, you know, it's just really fun. Yeah.
Thanks. Any other questions from the audience?
I just have one thing I'd like to say too, with what's going on with the COVID and the way they're blaming the Chinese people. I grew up in Brooklyn, and I was in Chinatown a lot going. That was like our great night out when you were a kid, to go to Chinatown and eat real Chinese food. Well, we thought was real Chinese food, you know, but hanging out with these guys, you really know what real Chinese food is. And I learned a great phrase that I use, and he bought it for me. I did a movie years ago called Guns of the Dragon, which if you're Oriental or Chinese, you should know about because it was pretty popular. But we used to have breakfast every morning, and I was the only American Italian, and then most of them were all Chinese guys, and they had these little dumplings called char siu bao.
Char siu bao, yeah.
Char siu bao. I said it right?
Char siu bao, yeah.
And when we went to Chinatown to do a promotion a couple of weeks back, he got me a box of it. And I made them forget about it. It was wonderful. But what's going on with that bullshit about blaming our American Chinese people for what went on in China is bullshit. And they're the greatest people in the world. That's all I want to say.
As a person who frequents Chinatown more than most, I can 100% agree, because I was telling people all along, I said, look, there are no cases coming out of Chinatown. You know, I said, they're not even from the same part of China, you know, and the people that are American Chinese that are here, they're here. So don't blame them for something just because you have something in your head. And fortunately, Chinatown is slowly but surely making a big comeback. I go down there every week. A lot of shops did close, but a lot of shops are either reopening or new businesses are taking over. So little by little, there is a comeback. I also headed a demonstration against Asian hate at Borough Hall about a month or so ago. It was in the papers. And we had Eric Adams, who will probably be our new mayor. We told him he better show up. And he came down. And if you don't know, Eric Adams is also a martial artist from way back. So we know him personally. And so hopefully we can maybe even do something with the kids, to keep them off the street, some of the gang violence, and have, more martial arts available to the youth than we have now. You want to say something, Zach?
Yeah. I want to say something about Mark make that movie. He really give us our Chinatown and the Chinese people a lot of respect.
Yes.
Nobody would dare to do that. And I'm able to play there with one of the big stars, Tony, all of you, and be part of them is very, really surprised. I want all the people in Chinatown or in China to know how great this cast is. This is one of the best movies they ever make. It's about the love and the people together, not about anything else.
Yes.
How they blend together, how Tony taught me. The first day I saw Tony, he gave me all the nicest things in the hotel. He was the nicest guy you ever met. I didn't even know he's the Godfather. I met him as an actor that day when I walked in Philly. We had coffee in the morning. He's the nicest guy in the table.
He's a nice guy. First time I met him, he said, "Hey, come here, take your mask off." All right? So, I got a question over here. Somebody had their hand up.
You said your inspiration was about growing up as a white male in infatuation with like kung fu, with Chinese martial arts. Why did you choose to tell the other side of the story? And would you be interested in telling the side of the story where I guess you're a white male trying to learn, like trying to join the Yakuza or like the Triad or something?
I told the other side of the story. Well, almost every character in the story has some reflection of me, and I started writing the screenplay in 1999. When were you born?
1992.
92, okay. And so it's, all the parts are kind of part of me, I wanted to be the big Godfather because I love the Italian mafia movies. I wanted to be the Kung Fu Sifu because I studied martial arts from age 9, right? And I wanted to be a part of a group that wasn't me. My parents didn't understand. My friends at school didn't. My best friends at school were a Korean guy, a black guy, and an Indian guy. And my mom was always like, "Why can't you hang out with white people?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? They're just people. There's just, Craig and Sunil and whatever. They're just friends. I didn't, that was it." So when I wrote the movie, I thought, if a white guy tried to join the mob, well, yeah, they might let me in. I'm the third Italian, But if I made him Chinese and he crosses Canal Street, the neighborhoods are right there. You can't write this in Philly because the Italian market, it's like 20 minutes, through traffic. And LA, forget it. They don't even get that kind of close connection. So I knew he couldn't be a white guy joining, but I'd like to do something where Italians might try to join, the Triad or something. But interestingly, and Carl, you can account for this too, in a lot of the old Kung Fu movies, the Triad bosses had black bodyguards.
Yes.
And you saw that a lot.
Yes.
So the culture's already, with the blacks and the Chinese are already kind of really close, which is why I had the gay black guy doing martial arts, because we know from our history that a lot of brothers love their Kung Fu, the
movie theaters in Chinatown, the original theaters we used to go to way back when, the Sun Sing, the Music Palace, the Pagoda, and the Music Palace. The guard there was a big black guy, and his name was Edric Young, and he, as a student for many, many years under a famous master in Chinatown, his name is Wan Chi Ming. Wan Chi Ming at one time he had the only Hung Gar school in Chinatown. What's important about that is in the old days you could only have a style, one school of one style in Chinatown. So you couldn't have two Hung Gar schools. You couldn't have two Praying Mantis schools. You couldn't have two, Wing Chun schools. There was one school. So if you open up a school, he knocks on your door. He says, "Hey, what are you doing?" He says, "Yeah, I want to open a school." He says, "Look, one Hung Gar school. That's it. One Wing Chun school. And if you did, they would close your school down." So like he's saying that, every now and then you go to the schools, there'd always be like one or two brothers in the class. You know, and you always wonder how they got in there. I speak Chinese, and once they go, well, no, why? I speak Chinese. So yeah, I could get in and out. You know, I've been doing it since I was a little kid. So, but when I would go, the teachers would look at me and they just like this because they didn't speak any English. And when I speak Chinese to them, then, you know, they let me in. But I don't know how those guys got in there, you know, but they got in. I guess they just said, look, we can use two guys that are big and tough and, you know, and it looks good. And maybe it's politically correct too.
I just want to add one thing to that is the director of our movie, the first director, Bobby Samuels, is a black guy, and he played Special Agent Johnson #2.
Yes.
And he's been doing martial arts for a long time, and he actually learned filmmaking in Hong Kong for 9 years before he came back here. So shout out to Bobby.
Yes.
And I also wanted to make a mention to Patricia Yeasel, our costumer here in the second row. As soon as she took over our costuming department, Vinny Chow got to wear Italian t-shirts and gold chains. And in the scenes where he's an ad for the Gap, they were not hers. Thank you, Patricia.
I just want to say another thing that I just thought of. You talk about the north side of Canal Street, which was supposed to be Little Italy. On the other side of Canal Street is Chinatown. But knowing a little bit about Italian Americans, and a little bit about what they call mob and mafia, which I grew up in, all that shit. When there was trouble in Little Italy or Chinatown, there was no Little Italy or Chinatown. The wise guys from Chinatown and the wise guys from Little Italy, they got together, and they always helped each other. In fact, if you study it, you'll understand that when bad things happen, like somebody had to get murdered, the Italian guys didn't do that murder. They went to Chinatown and had them guys do it, and vice versa, when Chinese, so that they wouldn't get pinched. So it's been a long relationship between Italian Americans and Chinese Americans. And it goes back a long, long way. And don't doubt it. Just think about what I said. In fact, right now, if you go to Chinatown or Little Italy, it's no more Little Italy, it's Little China. That's how they combined. And they all got along. And the mob guys are still around there. And you never hear about the Chinese wise guys because they really keep it secret. But they're still there. And they still run things and protect their people. So when people start doubting about, I hate this one, I hate that one, you don't know what you're talking about.
All right, we're about to wrap it up. And I want everybody, once again, give them a big round of applause. And thank you for the movie. Let's take a couple of quick shots of the man's down. I want to stand behind you.
Okay. Big hand of applause for Carl Albright. Hold the breath.